proceedings, and therefore it's important for you to know that these proceedings are live. So having said that, I wish to request, is there a member who wish to declare interest for this? If none, honorable members, I wish to declare interest that Engineer Kasioki Kieti worked under me when I was a county executive committee member responsible for water from the year 2015 to 2017. I think that was the hallmark of performance of the Department of Water that time. When I withdrew from the national government business and machinery and the drilling services at the dam construction unit. So this is an officer who has worked under me, and I remember recommending him to be recalled to come and act on Honorable Mutindi. You don't have to smile. Declaration of interest doesn't mean that you have an interest. You only declare in the past, so that if there is something that didn't happen very well when I was a minister and is here, you don't ask me. I've declared that we work together. So you are free to question his performance for the last 10 years, irrespective of whether he worked under me. That's what I'm declaring. And so that you'll be free to do. So the interest is as such. And then to further that, he was, I recommended him to be in charge of, to participate in the operationalization of the Makueni County Water Act, which was developed by this county assembly. I think this county assembly was the first one to develop that in Kenya. I think he was recalled from retirement to come and spearhead that process together with others in the department. That's all. You will hand over your original certificates to the clerk of the county assembly. At around the same time, before he picks them, he will administer oath to you.
I, John Kasioki Kieti, having been nominated for the appointment to serve as the Executive Committee member for the Department of Water and Sanitation, do swear that the evidence that I shall give before Select Committee on Appointments shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you.
So, Father, introduce yourself by way of your academic advancement and development from PP1 up to your highest level of education, and then after that you introduce yourself in terms of work experience from the university up to date.
Okay.
In that order.
Thank you. I'm John Kasioki Kieti. I was born in 1958 in Bourne, sub-county of Makueni County. I started my school in Iremboni Secondary School in 1965 up to 1971, where I joined Kamakambo High School for my Form 1 all levels up to 1975. Then later I went to Dagoret High School, where I did my A levels. That was from 1976 up to 1977. Later, I joined the University of Nairobi in August 1979. And in 1981, I graduated from Nairobi in the Faculty of Engineering with the second upper position, second upper class. And my project that time in the year 1981 was the best project. That means I was awarded, I was the best engineer of my year. Yeah, before graduation, when graduation came in December, we were employed. By then we used to get employed even before we graduate. I was employed in the Ministry of Water and Development. I was posted to Isili workshops where we did an induction of about 6 months, that is job on training. Transferred to Isiolo on a position as a divisional water officer. I was in charge of Isiolo, the whole of Isiolo. Isiolo, that time it was Isiolo combined, I mean the whole Isiolo, Marsabit and Meru. My duties then were construction of earthy dams. We used to drill a lot of boreholes. We worked on Isiolo water company, I mean Isiolo water supply, and places up to Archer's Post. Back to Nairobi in 1980 workshop, where we normally maintain our machines, the other moving equipment, the vehicles, the other plants for the district and the provincial water officers. I worked there up to 1988, where I went to Belgium for study, came back, and I was posted to Western Kenya. That was 1990, under the program Kenya Villand Corporation. I was the provincial mechanical engineer in charge of all maintenance of the big schemes under the Kenya Villand Corporation. Vihiga, Mundika in Busia, Kakamega, in all those big schemes. I worked on them, and I worked in Kakamega for 10 years. In the year 2000, I was transferred back to Nairobi, this time as assistant director. I was in charge of procurement of all machines. And I think was my office which was doing the procurement of all those machines and the rigs for national water. In the year 2006, I was moved, my section was moved to National Water Corporation. I worked there, I was deployed, equipped boreholes in the whole country. I was under 17 rigs in the whole country, with a control of about 1.5 billion that time. Then later on the year 2009, there was this drought in Northeastern. I was borrowed, let me put that one, I was borrowed by the ministry to be the regional coordinator in the whole of Northeastern. That means I had to control 23 districts of Northeastern, that is the 3 counties, Wajir, Mandera, and Garissa. I worked there until 2012, when I was transferred, or again borrowed, to come and open an office in Makueni. I came in Makueni in March 2013 as the County Director Water. Then it was under the TA, the Transitional Authority. But later, due to my age, I decided to work for Makueni. I think the chairman here has explained how I came in. We started working together. I didn't see the point of going back to Nairobi in 2016, and I was due for my retirement in the year 2018. That's how I landed in Makueni, and that's how I worked in Makueni. Severally, I was the chairman of the anniversary committee in the Department of Water. I was also the resident engineer for NDMA, that's the Drought Management Authority. The CEO of Nairobi had given me an appointment letter, so I was doing all the projects for NDMA. I was in the task force, which was dealing with the revival of Northwest. You remember, you know, there's a Northwest water company, and it had a lot of problems. And I was in the task force of Northwest. All through, which probably the chairman was not aware, but he came to know, is that my appointment was both for both the national government and the county government. So I was the representative of the Director of Water Supply in Voke, implementation of Voke multipurpose dam. So those are the later on the same. I was among the people who started the formulation of the water policy and the water law. Later, as the chairman had said, I had to be recalled from home. That was in November 2019, when I was nobody, I was not working in the county. But they saw it fit for me to come and finalize what I had done. So we did the implementation plan. We came up with the costings. We came up with the guidelines. We came up with the regulations. And apart from that, since I retired, I've been very active in consultancy. We are doing some consultants for some firms in Nairobi. So it's not that after retirement, I went back and stayed home. I've been busy doing some consultants. And I think that is the whole in my career. That's a span of, I've worked in the water sector for more than 38 years. And I have that energy to still work with you. Thank you very much. Chair.
Engineer,
Thank you.
I worked with you for about 5 years.
Yes.
And I think I'm getting tired. Because I've been in the assembly for 5 years. I worked with you from 2015 to 2017, 2 years. Here I am, so my experience with you is approximately 9 years or so. And I already feel tired. I need to do other things. Now you have enumerated your experience and work life. You toured this country and you retired. You did a good job. Listening to you from the university, then to national water, to the ministry, you borrowed here and there, you borrowed here and there. You know, it means you are doing a good job when you're a young person. Don't you think that we should have rejected this appointment and allow a young person to continue being borrowed from Makueni to Machako so that they can grow and have an experience like you?
I agree with you, Chairman. But there's a challenge. You know, water is life. Chairman, I tell you, if I construct a Harvey Dam and see people enjoy their livelihoods, is something which is satisfying. You know, water, when you do water and you will see the life coming up, animals fitting up, and you yourself, you feel that you should continue. In the water is the only is the only department where it caters across all those other interested. If, for example, I want to go and do agriculture, I'll, at the end of the day, find myself looking for water. So why can't I remain where I feel satisfied? And water, there are so many dynamics, so many theories, so many technologies coming up. Why can't we develop these technologies which are coming up? If it was something monotonous, that you come here, you package this, you package this. We have challenges every day, and those challenges are very healthy. So I have no intention of leaving my profession to another, Chairman. And I'm sorry.
Chair, if I listen to you carefully, and if I listen to the good engineer also very carefully, I think your question was, now that you have attained the age of retirement, why would it not be now your son, perhaps, to continue and you enjoy consulting while outside? I think that is the direction the chair was going.
Or rest at home.
Okay.
But what is important, the question is not even where you go. It's where you go and professionally. Because there are those that you have trained over time, including myself, I must confess. You were my tutor when I was a minister. I listened to you, but you also listened to me. So, why can't you? The question is, why don't you allow young people? Because the first candidate this morning for the Department of Trade is born 1987. Where were you 1987? So that is your son.
I drink the same water.
So that qualifies to be your son. So you're going to sit in a cabinet with a young man who is half your age. Why don't you allow these young boys to sit in the cabinet and run around and we rest, we retire?
It's okay, Chairman. That one is a very good question. But experience also matters. And they had also a chance when we were doing the interviews.
They had a chance, eh?
There was a chance. There were 1,000 applicants. There were 1,000 applicants. But if they could not meet the threshold, Chairman, I don't see the reason why you should go and pick somebody who doesn't have experience and bring him to board because he's young. So what matters here is experience and how you relate with your people and how you use the technology. Being old doesn't mean that you're using the old technologies. No, we are doing the modern technologies and we are studying. So, Chairman, if anybody wanted, we could have competed at that time because there was a chance. 1,000. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Chair,
Yes.
Chair, yes, I don't know, to bring the nominee to speak. I don't know that you watched the nominees of His Excellency the President, or your counterparts up there. Would it be a political appointee? Or would it be a political, although they did the interview, but would there be some connections?
In my case, I don't see any connection anywhere. Because I never participated in any political elections. I don't see any political influence anywhere.
Come from Bonnie, where I come from, you don't see any politics in that?
I mean, I don't see any politics in it. Politics.
Or Bolisa Bermuda?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I think I'm very impressed by the nominee. And he's going to be very instrumental even at his age because of the experience that he brings on board. Chair, I want to ask the nominee how are we going to use your experience how is your experience, because I think you're one of the best engineers we have, water engineers we have in the country, how will your experience and knowledge translate to water within our county? Because there's a big problem beginning from right here where we are in the headquarters.
In the Department of Water, for the years I've mentioned, we have partners whom we have worked with. Like I mentioned the Kenya Land Corporation. I mentioned that we used to work on very huge water schemes. There is this money which is left behind in the national government, the 85%. That money is controlled from Magios by people at least I've worked with, by people at least who have been to school together, and I'm sure with the experience I have, I will be able to get some sourcing out of them. Number two, I have dealt with bulk water facilities. Maruba was one of them, which is about 1,100,000 cubic meters. I was among the implementers of Maruba, and I can source money, I can design, I can ask for of interest, I can engage the PPIs. You know, that's a sort of employment. Depending.
Don't use abbreviations.
Sorry.
Don't
The public participation partners.
Good.
Yes, I can use them through the express of interest. And once you select a very good consultant and you have a very good private partner, you know that is a second way of procurement, despite the So I am in a position to at least engage people who can do the bulk water supply. Because Makueni, it's not easy, and it will never be for these small dams of about 50,000. What we require is dams of 600,000 cubic meters. And those ones, for us to develop, we have to go the way the government of Makueni, Kieti County went during Malombe the last, towards the end of his term. We have to look for land. Land is the problem here. Because you have seen the projects all we have done to the utility land that had been allocated by of lands. But this time, for us to get anything that can make an impact in Makueni County, we have to source for land. That's number two. We have to source for land. So I've mentioned the bulk, getting resources from the public-private partnership, and the sourcing of land, and the structures, the big structures.
Thank you. So you have said you have experience in those big construction of those big earth dams, and as well as drilling boreholes. Which one do you think is more sustainable in Makueni, environmentally and economically as well?
Makueni, what I can recommend for in Makueni surface water. There's a challenge with the exploration of underground water. And this one, Chumvi, all the way to Malili, Ulu, and Salam, and the like, up to Kibwesi, that we call it a corridor of Kilimanjaro. And as we go towards Motitwandei, there's also the effect of Chulu Hills. If you go the other side, you'll see very beautiful boreholes in Masi, coming all the way to Tawa. We have two Kiteta girls, all those places down, all that up to Kabulumbi. That is now, that's the corridor of Aga River. But in between here, Chairman knows, there's nothing. Borneo place, nothing. In fact, there's a corridor. So you cannot recommend any borehole to be drilled everywhere. We have those zonings and they're already known. So what we'll do is we recommend more on surface water. Okay, surface water comes from the rain. You are sure of that. You drill a borehole, the bore is silent. It cannot even take it. Like one we drilled in some place in Kieti. Even the donkey itself, you know, we tested the donkey. It was so green that even the donkey cannot take it. So imagine, it cannot be. You have already spent the 1 point something millions in sinking the borehole.
Yeah, but engineer, where were you when those boreholes were being sunk? Because so many of them were sunk. And
No,
you say
but
you are doing consultancy.
No, but in Makueni, I don't think we have sunk any borehole which was dry. If they are minimum.
In my ward, we have 5.
5. Unless that one I'll check. That one I check.
Okay, Chairman, the responses, I think we can borrow him also here. We can borrow him here. All the best.
Honorable Mutiti, we are not yet there. We are not yet there. I know you come from Boni. Honorable Mbalo.
Thank you, Engineer.
Thank you very much.
The population of various towns within Makueni County is increasing. We don't see proportionate increase in activities of water provision and supply. So, what are you going to bring to bring at hand to try to match the provision of water supply to the population, which is growing and we don't have? What are you going to do differently?
Differently, I think I'm sorry to go back to the question which was asked.
Approach the microphone. Engineer, approach the
sorry.
microphone. You're on record.
I'm sorry. I want to go back to the question which was asked. What we are planning is for Makueni, those mouths, the big.
You're still far from the microphone.
So I just okay. The bulk. In Makueni, we have what we call the water service providers. And the water service providers, we have Wasco in Makueni. We have Mawasco in Kibwesi. We have Mboni in the other side. And what we are going to do, because most of our water comes from the water service boats, service providers, we are going to support them. And we support them both technically, sourcing for money from the development partners. Then again, ourselves, we are going, I've mentioned, we are going to develop those structures. And this time, the structures will not be like they are doing today. You find that Makueni here, we are pumping water from Mwani, while we can have enough water from Kieti. I think most of people know where Kieti is. Kieti is a very good place. I think with the chairman here, we almost added them. That one can have at least 1 million cubic meters of water.
A million cubic of water is how many liters?
1 billion.
1 billion liters.
Yes, liters.
Proceed.
And those are the kind of schemes. I've come up with a list of all the schemes which I feel we should do. We have about 5 of them. In fact, every sub-count and a scheme which is on higher ground.
Can you name them?
Yeah, there's Kieti, there's Makuyuni.
Kieti in which sub-county?
It's in Kieti. It will supply all this place. Then there's Mwea. Mwea after Isiuni, Isiuni on the upper side of Isiuni. That one will also supply power from Boni, Kakokai Oya, and Makueni. Then there's Ngomano. Ngomano is the Kikuo, the Gomano place. That one can go up all the way to Kibwesi and those other places. Then the other one is we are talking of Molima, yes, in assistance with Kinze. Kinze, we match them together because it comes to Boni Wawasko, because they are the sources of Boni Wawasko. Then on the same issue, I personally, if you appoint me as the minister, let's call it the minister, the ECEC, I said, I've been working with Boke, coordinating Boke, and we are going to the second phase, to the second component, which is now the water supply and sanitation. And for us here, we have to be very keen on the implementation of the same, because it will be the benefit of this count of Makueni. So what I'll do, I'll make sure that I personally am involved, especially when they're doing the treatment plant. These are conventional treatment plants which will be done downstream of Boke Dam. But again, for the heavy metals which are coming from Nairobi and the like, we have to have what we call the reverse osmosis. That one will now clear the water, and I'll make sure that at least I'm involved in the water supply and sanitation component.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's quite clear. I want to hear at Wote here. We have the hospitals which is lacking water, and the population of Wote is growing, and the Thwake may be a long term. What is the medium plan, immediately, which will be done to try to mitigate the shortage of water in Wote, because the people of Wote being our counted quarter, there is a lot. There is a great loss of need of water, and the majority of people are complaining. And when you look for the institutions around, look at the hospital and the growing population, we need an immediate solution. As the Minister for Water, if we pass it, what will you be doing?
Thank you very much, Chairman. Water, I know there's a lot of scarcity of water. It is only Mwani which is giving us about 700 cubic meters per day. We did rehabilitation of Kamunyolo. Kamunyolo is supposed to give about 1,400 cubic per day, but so far the dam is empty. Then we have the Kieti one, where we have the road course. You know, there was a small mismatch in the design. Right now, I understand is only giving 100 cubic per day. That means you pump only for 2 hours because the pumps are 50-50. Then we have the Kieti 3, which was being sponsored by the government, but the contractor moved out because of non-payment. And we have the Kieti 3, which was being done by the World Bank. What I will do, if I come in immediately, will first improve the Kieti 1, because we don't know when Kamunyolo will have enough water.
Far from the microphone, unless
sorry.
The operator is not.
No, it's okay. Yeah. Okay. So we don't know when the rains will be, but if it rains right now, Kamunyolo at least will have an extra 1,400 cubic meters per day. This Kieti 1 will have the normal one, which is coming to 2,100 cubic meters per day. That will come to at least about 3,700 cubic meters per day. So what I'll do is I will immediately recommend we raise the weir on Kieti 1. which will will have a throwback of the sand and water up towards the bridge. That way that one will be able to sustain ourselves for more than 3 months during the drought. Then I will restart the Kieti 2 because it's only non-payment to the contractor. I will restart it again. I'll talk to the CEO, Tanaf, on Kieti 3 because it's a project which was done by World Bank. And in fact, I talked to him. He's telling me they are in the final stages of reconciling with the contractor who was there. So at least I'm seeing if the rains come, at least we'll have the short term as we prepare those big dams I've mentioned upstream, which we might take some time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I can see the experience where it's coming from now. That flow, that flow. You are not looking for issues. It is like flowing. I want to ask you about the Wawasco, Kimawasco, this water service boards.
Yes.
I come from Kibwezi. We saved a lot of money sometimes back when we gave our money to Kimawasco to give to supply water, because they were not making profit. They were just doing what they were supposed to do as contrary to the contractors. Would you wish the same thing is done, whereby we can be using this service board to give to supply to extend? You want extension or give money to them? Like in Kibwezi, I gave 10 million to Kimawasco, and they were well within time framework and with a lot of precision.
On the water service providers, I think I mentioned that we are going to support them.
No, that's not a question. There was a budget allocation under the Department of Water, the year 2017, 2018 or thereabout, and it was a push and pull. According to the member, the contract value was to be how much? The contract value would have done a quarter of what has been done. So under the Water Act, we made the provisions for transfer. The departmental budget around a Kimawasco operation zone or water operation zone, instead of procuring from the department, you transfer the funds of the budget to another entity, that is Wawasco or Kimawasco. But because the manner in which Kimawasco or Wawasco, the water services providers, will process their procurement at times is labor-based. So if it is labor-based, or they procure materials and then they engage in labor works, you have a value of more than 3 times what would have been done.
Okay.
So what is advanced is whether that is something we need to explore to get value for money, because the contract values and most of the projects within a scheme can be implemented better by our service provider than when the country government will get in, drill a borehole, equip it and leave it. And that is what Honorable Bumbali is trying to pursue, if that case in his word is to go by.
Okay, I understand. I think what
to note is that the minister then was hesitant.
That's what I'm coming to.
It took the intervention of the county assembly and the motion and summoned the minister and compelled the minister for water and that of finance quoted the law. That is when they were able to release with the intervention of the governor. His concern is that since you are working in the department that time, you might have been the technical advisor. Against. Short of it, you would want to know whether that is something you would want to embrace, so that we devolve and ensure that these institutions can implement projects in a less expensive.
Chairman, I've worked with the MDs of these companies, and I can understand what you are saying. The time it uses to procure, they are using the labor. Personally, I cannot oppose something which I feel will bring more water faster than this procurement. So I concur with you, and I concur with the system which was there, that I will support as a minister. And where possible, I'll come up with a framework. Come up with a framework of how we can finance them. Because I know at the end of the day, this money will also be devolved. Even, I don't know, because probably, I don't know, they might be devolved further to the wards and the like, to ease some of these burdens we have in procurement.
Thank you, Chair.
You can start with water supply at Malili and try whether you will get an answer. Because that has been a serious. You requested
yes.
for how many statements?
So many. Yeah, I said that in Malili we've got the Kilimanjaro water table, yeah?
Yeah, corridor.
Corridor.
Which you designed?
Is the one you designed?
Ask him.
It's not designing, that's a God thing. You know, it's water coming underground. Data is available.
Okay.
He knows where the system is. You know where
The data
the
is
people are.
available.
Okay, then what? I'm from Malili.
Yes.
And the place is completely dry without water. We've got only one ball, which was done by this county government 2 years back, and you find so many people queuing to get water, and at times it's like it dries. So what plans do you have for a place like Malili?
Malili is a borehole we call Ulu 3. You know it?
Yes.
Ulu 3.
Yes.
You know Ulu 3 is producing 58 cubic meters per day.
Yeah.
Per hour, sorry. 58 cubic per hour. But now the problem is...
Just hold on. Don't put the meters. 58 cubic meters.
That is what came out of the pump.
That is how many liters per hour?
But the problem, liters are 58,000 liters per hour. But now, Chairman, you cannot extract this water because they had put a casing of 6 inch. And any pump which goes into that Ulu 3 can only produce 20 cubic meters per hour. So what we are proposing was, and initially it was there, there's a time I was in Malili, we proposed the Ulu 1, we connect to the rising main of no trash. No, it was not only that. You know there's a borehole in Kwadidu. Kwaroda, you know another borehole. You know another one, Kwambua. All those boreholes. No, I was working in the pipeline, not trash. So some of these things I know them off-head. That's why I'm telling you, Malili, you have a lot of water. The Ulu 1, if we can connect to you, it will be sufficient for you. Have I answered?
Yes, you have answered. Then, if you become the ECM water,
thank you very much.
how long will it take you to make that plan workable?
That plan will be workable once you yourself allocate me money. If I check in the budget, find that there's money for that place, straight away I'm going to do it, even with our own machines. We have invested a lot of money on our machines with the chairman here. So that one will be automatically, immediately, if you give me the funds.
Okay, thank you. I'm happy with you. You are so knowledgeable.
No, we are not.
Thank you
We
very
have
much.
not yet concluded. Honorable Galuna.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and sorry I've been on and off. I wished to be part of this since the beginning because I wanted this kind of engagements, but lucky enough I will be appraised much later to get to acquaint myself with what was happening. I like the way he has responded to the questionnaire, but I don't know because yes, I'm an ICT person. I have seen he was doing it handwritingly, doing it very clearly, and they are in bold. But I wish next time he can do a write-up through a printout. So That is my observation. Then I go to, if you are appointed, because you know you've been an officer, technical officer. I think now that there is a small difference if you are appointed the ECM, because the ECM is a delegated authority of the governor, and you will also be benefiting from the technical officers, even when you are as well versed with this for over 40 years, as I have seen from your CV. And congratulations for even getting a nomination way after retirement.
Thank you very much.
That means the confidence is there with the governor and everybody. And if the committee sees it wise, we approve you. It will be one of your best and the biggest honors to serve the people. Now, as the ECM, you have a responsibility. You have legal obligations to the county assembly when you are the ECM. Now, it will be very difficult for you sometimes, because you worked with technical officers on the ground. You have less or very little or insufficient numbers on the ground. What will happen now when those projects are failing you, and maybe because of your projection within 100 or 3 months, within 100 days or 3 months or 6 months or 1 year, nothing is happening? Will you be responsible enough to respond to these matters when they come to the assembly? And will you take offense because as we don't follow up on technical officers? I doubt I even knew you before today, because we've never called you into the assembly, because you are not directly responsible to the representatives of the people. Will you take an offense if you see a young man like Kalunda, myself, who is below 35, calling you into the assembly to respond to these matters which you are not directly responsible to? But since the law is very clear, we only deal with the ministers. Will you be able to respond without taking an offense and taking responsibility on these matters? Then that will also inform the next question. The next question will be, what will be your daily activities as an ECM, bearing in mind that you've been a technical officer for all those many years? What will be your daily typical week as an ECM, running up and down, trying also to governor and everything? So that is my question. Thank you, and congratulations for a long service in the public.
Thank you very much, Chairman. The Department of Water sometimes is very hard. Chairman is aware, because we have a period. Simply because we have a period.
Engineer,
Sorry.
much as I declared interest, I hope.
No, it's okay. I'm not going to put it in across.
I hope you are. I hope you are not quoting me to quote
No, I'm
your
not
statement anymore.
And I hope that will not make the chair undeclare.
Sorry. The Department of Water, we work for, especially in dam construction, we have only 6 months in a year. Do you know why? Because we have the maps. The maps, those are arranged for March, April, and May. You cannot construct a hardened dam. Then we have those other months from October, November, December. And there's this July, when the financial year ends. I will have all the excuse, and I won't feel offended if I own the river in a very good time. But if the citizens will refer me, I'm sure I will the river, because I've done it before. And I don't see the reason why I should not. Secondly, you have there's what you have talked of being technical, hands-on experience. Hands-on experience as an engineer, you cannot avoid to go and work with the people. You'll always be there. But there is also your daily works, what you are supposed to do day by day the administration of the offices, the functions of the departments, the decentralized units. Of course, they have to work. And this one is under the Waziri. You have to make sure that they work. So at the end of the day, I have a lot of work, and I'm sure you'll also find me in a drawing office. As an engineer, there is no way you can be left by another engineer when they're doing designs and you cannot comment. So I don't know whether I've answered you, my daily activities, and how I will react if you... in my roles as ECM, I'm very sure I'm supposed to prepare legislation for approval. I'm also supposed to be in the preparation of the budget. I'm supposed also to implement what you approve. So at least I have a lot of work, and I'm sure I will work on them. I don't know whether I've answered you satisfactorily.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Chalo Mumo. Chalo Mumo.
If you are not done.
He has no question. Proceed.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Chair, indeed, I had about 15 questions to ask the nominee, but because he has already done it. Chair, the first one, I will confirm that he was not involved in politics, because I'm from Bonn and I went everywhere. I've never seen him in politics. So
Thank you.
He's very honest in that. I think he's very honest in that, Chair. And other than being an expert in water, you may need to also show leadership, because you are talking so technical, engineering. There is that leadership aspect in the department, where you and daughters who, once they see, instead of coming, they run away because they will say Babu amekam. How will you deal with this young staff who may perhaps just run away because of fear of the age, fear factor? That is one. Number two, there is this issue of places you have gone. How many other donor countries, or how many other NGOs that you have interacted with that can help Makueni? Because I do not see, even yourself going to see, don't think nobody doesn't know you in Kenya on water matters because of that experience. If you're in Belgium, I know you speak some French, because some Belgian they speak some French when you ask. So I think you also may have some Belgium because they help a lot in water matters. So I do not want to dwell on much, because I said you have answered much of these things. When you speak about the issue of having big things, other than, the other day I did a small dam, and in my area I'm being called champion, and I'm told it's just 150 cubic. I don't know whether that is cubic. So when you talk about 600,000, is it cubic? Yes. Then I say I will be ashamed. So when you are talking about, when you answered Mulima and Kinze in that area, you talk about the other sub-county, Kieti, you talk about Makueni, Kamunyololo here, and the other places. You finished that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Right? So, and again, I know him, I just said, I have declared interest. Then, even after I leave this microphone, he will just finish, because he understands you more. We have a water engineer here as an oversight person. Are you aware of a member called Kisungi Wakatete?
I know. I'm aware of him, and he was working under me.
He was working under you.
Yeah.
So how will he oversight you?
Okay.
Now, okay, so that you combine all those things together,
Okay.
because he's the chairman of water.
Yes.
And you are his voter. I don't know how you will oversight that, but what we need at the end of the day is results.
Okay.
Because I'm seeing them from where I'm seated. Since we came here, I have not seen you with a pen and a book. No, I'm not asking you to have it because you have answered this question without without noting, honestly speaking. So you have said some of these things, and the issue of boreholes you have answered correctly, professionally.
Okay,
That really, because I was telling my chairman here that I know of a person in Tulimani, and of course I know he's your friend. He did 2 boreholes, now they are dry, 0 water, and it costed him 3 million.
Yes.
Dry. So we have stalled projects in Makueni. Stalled projects. Would you just by maybe 2 or 3 or 4 major projects, what you will do, and also tell us about Dwake, where it is now, and where are we about to be in the next 1 or 2 years? Because at the end of the day, I know you'll want to help and assist His Excellency the Governor to deliver, and that's why he went to fetch you, even in your retirement, because of the experience to help the people of Makueni. So we just want that legacy. We want to be part of that legacy, because I know after 2027 you will have no interest, despite even 2 million they apply. That time you may tell them, I have done it, now you can apply to implement what we have done, because you will have sorted the problems. Engineer, as I finish, you have worked for 38 years, and you must be a very wealthy person. From the one I look, how much are you worthy? I don't know. How much are you worthy? And what is that makes that worthiness, engineer? Okay. So that by the time 5 years is over, we don't do an audit and find that you are less what you have, or you are triple. Like when you talk about him, I didn't hear you talk about these mega dams like Kimwarel. Perhaps maybe you don't know where Kimwarel is.
I know.
Oh, okay. So you may need to tell us about Kimwarel a little bit. Okay. A little bit, because to me you have worked in many places. So I think Chair, mine is that. I think I'm okay with that. So if you respond.
There are many issues. There are quick issues. There is the
relation
to the chairperson committee on water, Honorable Engineer Kisungi Wakarete Molinge. Was your junior is going to be your boss in the assembly. You said you're answerable to the assembly. He's concerned about the objectivity and the chairperson committee on water. He's talked about the Twake, the status of Twake. He talked about stalled projects in the county. And then he has talked about your network.
Okay, let's start. He talks about the donors.
Donors.
There's also the relationship with my junior staff. I'm going also to touch on it. I think I mentioned that I was a resident engineer for NDMA. That is a Drought Management Authority. And the NDMA deals with the European Union. There are people we have done with at least 2 other dams. We have one in Kalawa, Basia, we have another one in Gomeni. And this time they have increased the funding. So at least every year they do 2 other dams in the most affected counties, the 23 of them, Makueni being one of them. That one we are sure of getting at least 2 other dams per year from the European Union. We have our donors, we have our friends. The 85% I mentioned of the national government is normally channeled through the waterworks development agencies. That is Earth and TANAF. And those are people we can talk to who can at least assist, but more likely they support the agencies. They go to the to the service providers, which is also part and of the system. Then there's on the donors, there is our banks. I think they have seen the National Bank of Kenya. In fact, the projects I was telling chairman, most of them we might forward to them. They have a program of a 5 billion Kenya shillings, and they have already approached our government to be a partner, to create a partnership with us. The family bank, again, as a product on the water, and they're ready to partner with us. Then there are other many. If, for example, Voke is being done by ADB through the water agency. What they require is, I think I've mentioned when you were talking of having expression of interests expression with a consultant who is attached to a very good donor. That one automatically is a procurement procedure. So, and I'm in the consultants, and I know the guys who deal with these consultants and who sponsors them. So at least with the donor, that one I'm through. Dam, I say it is, I think it's about 81% complete. That is only now the reservoir. But there is a consultant who is on the ground who has started on what we call the water supply and sanitation components, which is not yet tendered for. Now that one is likely to start anytime. And this other dam, each server is supposed to be complete by December, and the other works by March. They're supposed to start. I said, Voke, we ought to be involved, completely involved. See, because that component is the most important. The water supply and sanitation. We'll have the sewer systems in water here. It's another one down at Mali. It will serve all the way to Kibwesh. They will be assistant to that. Then, of course, we'll have the booster station, which will be in Ukia. That will go now straight to our tanks in Malili. Then there are other places. There are Makueni. There are all these. We have the graphics of how the water will go. So the most important part of Voke is now the second component. The other dam, it's also involved what I said, the treatment. And the treatment here is very key, because we are talking of those heavy metals, mercury, lead, and the like. It cannot be removed by the mere aluminum sulfate and chlorine. We have to reverse the system. It's very expensive, but since it was factored in it, of course, for people to be safe, for Makueni people to be, we have to do the reverse osmosis. And we will make sure that, as a Waziri, if you appoint me, if you say I be the Waziri, I'm sure you'll get water and the water will be safe. That is okay. The stalled projects, I think I've mentioned when I was talking of the Wasco, I've mentioned the 82. That one I'm sure immediately, because it's one of the immediate actions for the town. That one I'll make sure it starts immediately. If there's any problem, I'll see how we can take up the issue. The same to Kieti 3. If that Kieti 3 can at least also work, that will be good. For the other stalled, the money is there. If a project is stalled due to lack of funds, then we'll come back to you through the stalled project. Then that allocation which has been allocated to the county assemblies. I mean, to the members of the county assemblies. Because there is no any other way you will get, because this is a budget line, and there is no way, there is no any other source of money. So what we'll do is you come in as a supplementary budget, but if there is nothing, then of course we go to public participation in the following financial year. Then,
Done.
sorry.
Okay, proceed.
Then there is how I will relate with my very, very, very young, staff. This one is very easy. I've been in the dam construction unit. Do you know the kind of people I'm dealing with? These are the brand of operators. Small boys from school, small girls from school, people who have a lot of money in the field. And if I relate with this one, I don't see the reason why I should not relate with somebody who is in a position of a world officer. My line of work, I work with operators. I used to construct hardy dams, and these are young guys. Most of them, they are even interns, and I communicate with them. So communication is not an issue. But still, this is what we call the chain of command. Why should I go talk to somebody who is down there, and yet there is also the chain of command? Why should I go down there, start talking to them? Why can't I don't know how I will call it. Yes. Then I get the information. The chain of command is always there. So I don't see the reason why I should go all the time, go down there. Then you are asking me about the net worthy. Okay. The objective. I say the chairman of the chairman is my MCA. And again, I was working with him. That doesn't make any, this is business. And if we are doing business, it doesn't matter whether you are doing business with your man or you are doing business with who. So this one will be, we are going to do business. There will not be, Kieti was my boss, he was what, and we come from the same constituency. No, work is work. My worthy, okay, I have a small car here, worthy 1.4 million. I have a house in Buruburu, I mean not Buruburu, in Syokimau, worthy about 12 million. I have my home in Bohoni, worthy about another 12 million. So I have some parcels of land, about 6 or so other parcels of land. When I failed, I feel I'm worth 60 million. 60 million. That's what I'm worth.
Adam? Bagalura? Oh, you had requested to give one.
Thank you. I don't take a lot of time. Mine, it is a rejoinder to just prepare him because the county has resource constraints. And that question should even be going to every nominee who comes here, because they are very big plans, very good plans. So how will you play with that? Because from the suggestion of the Honorable Majority Leader was very simple. You rely on, I don't know, a donor community from Belgium. If, for example, you don't find that route right away when you get into the office, and then you find the monies are not there in the department, how will you manage the expectation and the frustrations? Because it may even render you not to work for the next few months, because you will have to find a way of standing, because it is very difficult when you had expectations and now everything is not working as per your expectations. So that, how will you manage? Because if you don't, because you'll be the head of the department, members of staff and everybody who relies on your leadership will be demotivated and that becomes a big issue for the people of Makueni within the short time possible. So how will you manage that with the long-term goals and in conjunction with the future? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have some flagship projects which were proposed sometimes back, and I'm sure most of them have not been done, like this one in towards Mavindini and several others. One thing which will assist in case the donors won't respond as I had planned, we have invested a lot in our machines. And if we can deploy 3 units in a big dam like the one I'm talking of, like Kinze we are talking of, like Mulima we are talking of, at least we'll be fast. Because this one will require minimal expenses using our own machines which we invested in. When I was talking about the public-private participation, you give a consultant the expression of interest, whom you are very aware, whom you are very sure he has a donor. You know, that is a way of procurement. Like the way we say government. Whoever is doing the consultant for you, they have their own donors. If you select the best, if you select the right consultant, sure at least you can't miss 1 or 2. Incorporate with our machines, at least we can at least be moving. You know, these things cannot come all of a sudden at immediately you are the waziri, you are going to start working on the big issues. It's something which is a process and you take time. And you correct.
Okay, thank you very much, Engineer Chodni, Engineer Kachoki, Kieti. We have had your submissions on the questions therein. This committee will retreat to consider your presentation alongside your experience and your CV. We will report to the Court Assembly to determine on this matter. We have no obligations on it. Ours is to make recommendations. We wish you all the best, and we will communicate to the appointing of the committee. Any comment to this committee?
Yeah. If this committee appoints me as the ECM water, I will, the water deficits of Makueni, which is 27,000 liters, cubic meters per day, I'm sure I will, through the state projects, and I'm sure with my experience on this large pipe scheme like the one we have in Voiceless, I am sure with my supervision and the team which is on the ground and my house, I'm sure the water which we'll get in Makueni will be of a standard more than the Nairobi water. So that will be another level. We'll have raised Makueni count to a level whereby we cannot be called semi-arid. We don't want to be called all the time semi-arid because we don't have, because of scarcity of water. We want like Machakos and the other places. And that is the vision of my department and those and my core values. Thank you very much, Chairman. I appreciate for the time you have given and to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time and responding to the responses. Engineer, you are released. We'll escort you. We'll show you your
Where are
direction.
my certificates, please?
They will be delivered to you.
Oh,
shortly.
I'm sorry.
You don't want to leave without them.